The sumo deadlift is considered cheating by most because many think that it's the strongest lift, but that's only if your technique is working for you. Most people switch to sumo expecting countless PR and unlimited weight, but that's rarely how it goes. When I started powerlifting, I was pulling conventional, but I wasn't as strong as I wanted to be, and that's when I heard about sumo, and I studied a little bit on the internet with the minimal videos we had back then. I heard how easier it was to lift more weight in that stance and how people were extremely strong pulling sumo. So I thought that I'd switch to sumo and outlift everyone. But the first time I tried it, it was terrible. It felt awkward, it was uncomfortable, and I was even weaker than my conventional deadlift. Since then, I have spent the last 8 years mastering the lift, and we've brought my sumo deadlift to over 300 kilos. In this video, I'm going to go over the 5 most common sumo deadlift mistakes I see over and over again through the hundreds of athletes we have coached. These mistakes hold people back from pulling sumo correctly and getting stronger, and fixing this will make sumo feel more fluid, and you'll be able to increase the weight on your sumo deadlift. So let's get into it. Mistake number 1, leg drive. The sumo deadlift and the conventional deadlift are 2 different types of lifts. People may think that they are very similar. They have some very similar points, but the technique is very different, and usually people that switch from conventional to sumo need some time to get used to it and learn what the philosophy is behind the lift. The sumo deadlift helps you use your quads more into the movement, and if you are a lifter with stronger quads and less strong back, it will help you move more weight with your legs. And often the mistake I see with people lifting sumo is that they treat it like a conventional. They pull too much with their back. I will explain it simply. It's basically getting into position and then using your legs to lift the weight off the floor. Now, another mistake athletes might do is that they might overuse their legs, or that they might lock out the knees too early. When getting the leg drive right, you have to learn the right timing with pushing with your legs. Locking out too early will make the bar drop forward, and usually when that happens, you cannot recover from that and finish the lift. So locking the knees too early usually means that you are way too impatient with leg drive. And on the opposite side, when you see that you are not locking out your knees at the lockout of the lift, it means that you are not using your legs enough. So finding the right balance of using the legs, locking them at the right time, usually that is slightly earlier than locking out the hips, is the key to having good leg drive. Mistake number 2, no patience off the floor. The sumo deadlift is more of a technical lift than the conventional deadlift, and when you do a technical mistake on sumo, it's harder to recover from it and finish the lift. Because the conventional deadlift is more of a raw strength type of lift, more of a I will muscle it out type of lift, but the sumo deadlift is a very technical lift that everything has to be on point for you to be able to lock out the weight and get 3 white lights. So the sumo deadlift is harder off the floor and easier at lockout, and the conventional deadlift is usually easier off the ground and harder at lockout. This also has to do with how far the hips are from the bar during the lift, and the back is not as involved in the sumo deadlift as it's in the conventional. And a mistake people do is that they don't have patience off the floor and they don't have a good position. Having a bad starting position also means that your lockout will also not be the best. So learning to be patient, to get into a good position, to pull yourself into position and then use your legs while keeping everything stable is key to understanding the sumo deadlift. Pulling too early will bring you out of position, and usually that's the end of your rep. You won't be able to finish your rep, or you might be able to if you hitch, or you can save it sometimes, but usually having a bad starting position means that you'll have a bad lockout. So having patience and make sure that everything is dialed in before you push with your legs as hard as you can is the key to having a good sumo deadlift. Mistake number 3. Now we have talked about patience and starting position on the deadlift, and one of the mistakes I see from athletes is that they try to get into a position where they extend the lower back. The sumo deadlift is more of a lift that you might need a little bit of rounding, and you might need to anterior tilt your hips, meaning you have to have a little bit of rounding and not get overextended. This will help you bring your quads more into the movement. This will help you open up the knees more and get more space in your hips, and also put the load on the outer part of your feet and on your toes, where you want to be pushing. You want to push outside and in the direction the toes are pointing in order for you to be able to have good leg drive and have strong legs off the floor. When chasing a bigger arch or overextending the lower back for the sumo deadlift, it brings you into an open scissor type of position where you cannot bring the hips into the movement, and also you cannot brace properly and get stuck for a strong deadlift. So if you are overextending your back in order to get tight, I would advise you to maybe rotate the hips in a little bit and try to use your lats and brace to lock in that position. Mistake number 4. This one is very crucial for the sumo deadlift because it's also a dangerous point, and that is pulling with the arms while lifting. For the sumo deadlift, because your hands are in the front of you and you are in an exposed position, if you pull too much with the biceps, this will not only increase your risk of injuring a bicep or tearing a bicep if you're unlucky, it will not allow you to pull the slug out of the bar and build that solid starting position for you to be able to start pushing with your legs. What we want to aim for the sumo deadlift is patience off the floor, as we said, but you want to make the arms long. You want to think about that the hands just hold onto the bar and that you are trying to lengthen your arms. You can also think about that you are trying to lengthen your neck, and while rotating the elbows in, you can activate your lats. And when you have a good brace, you get into that good starting position, that solid upright position where you can push with your legs from. Pulling too much with the biceps not only is dangerous, but will also bring you into a more crouched position. You won't be able to get into that nice upright position you see in these efficient sumo pulls on the internet. So you want to have relaxed arms, and you want to think about that your hands are just holding onto the bar. Sometimes I like to teach it like your arms are like ropes and your hands are just hooks attached to the barbell. They are not there to pull the weight with your hands. You should pull the weight with your upper back, get into a nice extension, make your neck long so that you get the tension through the whole body. And finally, the last mistake people do with their technique on the sumo deadlift is not exactly about technique. Number 5 is ignoring your mobility. Sumo might be the better choice for lighter lifters or for many lifters. However, we see that conventional and sumo pulls in competitions in the IPF are pretty much balanced because it's around 50-50 on the choice of lifting. And the difficult part on sumo is to get the technique right, be patient, but also the mobility demands of the sumo are much harder because you are in a more weird position. The angles are a little bit more weird for the body. And I find that with sumo you can get tighter faster if you are inefficient or from the volume. You want to keep in the back of your mind that you have to do your mobility. That's one of the hard parts for sumo. You have to stay mobile, have that hip mobility, do your pigeon stretches, for example, long adduct stretches, a QL stretch, glute medius types of stretches. This will help you open up your hips and get it to that strong, solid position where you can use your legs. If you don't have good mobility, you won't be able to get into that position to use your legs efficiently, and you are missing the whole point of the sumo deadlift. So pay attention to your training, but also your recovery and your mobility. We won't get into too much detail on the mobility of the sumo deadlift, but just make sure that you are doing some type of hip mobility, that you are stretching out your quads, that you have some type of routine that will help you stay fresh, stay into that nice position, and not be technically inefficient. These were my 5 points for sumo. Sumo is one of my favorite lifts to teach and to train with. I have spent a lot of time mastering it, and these were my 5 most common mistakes for the sumo deadlift. If you need help with your sumo, you can use the link in our description and you can submit your video, and we'll send you a free technique review so that you can improve and get better. If you want a more in-depth technique guide on sumo, check this video right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps our channel grow. I'll see you in the next one.